I finally watched Heartstopper, and here's what I think. Going into it, I had my doubts. I expected it to be cringe and have lots of stereotypes, and I am not somebody who is particularly fond of forced romances, and I expected the show to be that, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Although I'm not the biggest fan of romance genres, I genuinely enjoyed the story between Nick and Charlie. It had good development, they had good chemistry, and they started out as friends, and it was pretty good. The only thing I would have liked is if they waited another episode before the kiss, because I'm someone that really enjoys a good build-up. They did have a good build-up, but it could have just been a little bit longer. This show also had great representation. Not only was it about two gay guys, but one of the guys was bisexual, and there was a trans person, and there was a lesbian couple, and the only thing I wish they would have added is some Aro Ace representation. I've heard rumors that Isaac is Aro Ace, so you could argue that we're getting a representation there. However, Isaac hardly had any lines, and he was hardly even a character. He was sort of just there in some scenes, and there was nothing to suggest that he might be Aro Ace besides his lack of partner, but that doesn't necessarily mean somebody's Aro Ace, so we got to hear none of the struggles an Aro Ace person might go through, and I, as someone who is on the Aro Ace spectrum to some degree, I really would have appreciated that, but they did have really good types of other representation. I do appreciate one character in particular who I actually did think of Aro Ace representation. It is none other than Tao. Although he is canonically straight according to the graphic novels, a lot of his character traits just screamed Aro Ace to me. Although a lot of his personality traits, such as his jealousy and fear of losing friends to relationships and all that stuff, that can be seen as more of just character traits and who he is and have nothing to do with his sexuality, but really hit close to home. I've heard that in the graphic novels, spoiler alert, him and Elle do end up becoming a thing, but the way that it was portrayed in the show, I've never read the graphic novels, so I'm just basing it off the show. The way it was portrayed in the show, it seemed like Tao and Elle were actually a perfect example of how a queer platonic relationship might look like. I was expecting Tao and Elle to have some sort of kiss or get officially together before the end, but I actually like the way it kind of left off with the relationship, because it also brought up another real thing was when you fall in love or catch feelings for your best friend or somebody who you're really close to, sometimes you have to evaluate what's important. Like, do you risk all these years of friendship to possibly be something more, or is your friendship as it is more important? And to me, it kind of seemed like Elle was choosing the latter, and I did hear that there is going to be a season 2, so I'm sure there's going to become a thing in season 2, but if we're just basing it off of season 1, I thought they left it off in a great place, because sometimes the right decision is choosing friendship over a potential romance. I also really liked all the main character in this. Charlie was great, of course, and I expected Nick to be kind of a Mary Sue, but then once he agreed to go on a date with Imogen, I'm like, oh no, why would you do that? But hey, character flaws, I guess. At least you're not a Mary Sue, because I don't want to watch a Mary Sue on screen. That's just boring. And Tao, of course, I've already spoken a lot about Tao, but I love Tao. He is definitely my favorite character in the show. He's a character that I can really, really relate to as someone on the Aro Ace spectrum, and just how my personality is in general, except maybe a little less aggressive. And yeah, he's just a really relatable and well-written and great character. He has character flaws, but definitely a lot of things to love about him too. I just love how protective he is of his friends. Tara and Darcy were great as well, and I didn't like Imogen at first, but she definitely grew on me after Nick explained that they couldn't be together, and I think in season 2, she definitely has a lot of potential. A couple other side characters I really liked were Charlie's sister Tori, she just sort of came out of nowhere all the time, and the only one she ever interacted was him. So for a while I was sort of wondering, like, is she in Charlie's head? But yeah, she's like, I really like her. And I really liked Nick's mom as well. She was just so like sweet and supportive, and I really like how she pointed out to Nick, like, hey, you act most like yourself when you're around Charlie rather than those Chads. I think it did come to a satisfying conclusion with Elle ultimately choosing her friendship with Tao over potential romance, and obviously Nick and Charlie ending up being an official couple, and Nick being okay with coming out to the people closest to him. But what I thought would have made it more satisfying is seeing Nick and Charlie being like officially together at school, and then like Harry and the bullies like being all assholey, and then Nick and Charlie, I don't know, like standing up to them, gay pride. But I'm sure we'll get that in season 2. I'm not necessarily sure I want a season 2 or 3, because I thought that besides the fact that we didn't get to see many people's reactions of Nick and Charlie together, I thought it was a satisfying conclusion. But I'm pretty sure that Tao and Elle are going to become an official romantic couple in season 2, and then the little Arrow Ace queer platonic representation I was holding on to is just gonna fizzle away. But at least we still have headcanons, right? Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for next time. I also might do a character essay on why Tao is on the Arrow Ace spectrum, or why he should be, why they should go that route. So if that interests you, stay tuned.